A&B Properties is Quincy's largest apartment rental company with hundreds of units available. They offer short-term and long-term rentals with 1 up to 4 bedroom apartments. A&B Properties meets the needs of its tenants with care, compassion, and a quality of service that exceeds expectations. A&B Properties also has a convenient tenant app for you to do your payments or make repair requests. Give them a call today. A&B Properties, 217-919-8080, Quincy.
Brian Richards, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
You work for 3M.
I do.
And you work out of Quincy?
I do. As a remote employee, yes, correct.
And where are you guys headquartered?
St. Paul, Minnesota. So quite a ways.
How often do you go there?
6.5 hour drive. Every other month, typically, yeah.
So you and I have a lot of things in common. Many things.
Many things.
One of them is we coach club soccer together. We both went to that Catholic meeting a couple weeks ago, that one particular Tuesday.
Yes.
Then I did something that maybe was a good idea, bad idea. It all depends on your perspective. I wrote a letter to the editor, and the headline, if anybody, I think, I don't know if it's David, Adam, or Bob, or whoever wrote that intro, did a very good job of getting people to click on that.
Fired a lot of people up.
That's the job, is, having something that you see a headline, you're like, oh, I want to know about what is going on here. So you click on it, and then hopefully everybody that loved it read the whole thing. And hopefully everyone that hated it read the whole thing. I don't believe for 1 second that the people that hated it
they probably stopped where they read the line that they hated, and that was the end. So
one of the things that you and I talked about, you and I both went to that. So for the listeners out there, without being too opaque about what we're talking about, the Quincy Catholic schools, this has been covered. I think they covered this. I think Muddy River covered this in another pod earlier in the week, or maybe last week, and
yes.
I think it was like Ashley and Bob talked about it for a little bit.
Bob talking about it.
Yeah, and all of the work that they've already done on this has been really good, and I agree with so much of what everyone said. But a lot of this is, I want to get your opinion. I want to clear up a little bit of what I meant in the letter to the editor. Your story is very interesting because you are from
Jacksonville, Illinois.
And
got to clarify, people think Florida automatically. Say Jacksonville. Anyone outside the state will think Florida automatically.
And what parish in Quincy do you belong to?
Blessed Sacrament.
Okay. Do you live in the neighborhood of Blessed Sacrament, or do you live?
I live in the historic district, so maybe 2.5, 3 miles away, maybe. I don't know. I haven't.
So not Cafftown?
No.
Okay.
No.
I used to live in Cafftown.
Right near Quincy Museum.
Okay.
Yeah.
A couple things I just want to make some clarifications on. So for anyone listening, the Catholic schools, this is where it kind of gets deep. So I've been Catholic. I was baptized Catholic. I can't say to any strong degree that I've been Catholic the entire time. I talked to there's some really good, strong Catholics in Quincy, and they pretty much they don't tend to agree with some of the things that I say. Can I do something? I'm going to look this up here. I'm going to go to my phone here, and Bob, I'm not trying to mess with my phone here. I'm just going to Google something here. I already Googled this. The question is, if you miss Mass on a Sunday, is it a mortal sin? Is it a mortal sin? So here is the general, according to the interwebs. It says yes. Missing Mass on a Sunday or a holy day of obligation can be considered a mortal sin if it's done deliberately and without a good reason. I talked to a lot of Catholics, and they think it's a mortal sin as well.
Yeah.
They think it's a mortal sin.
Yeah.
What's your definition of a mortal sin?
Yeah. My kids are at Mass every Sunday. I'm not at Mass every Sunday.
Why not?
Some Masses. Weekends are incredibly hectic sometimes.
Are you Catholic?
So, I'm not Catholic. I raise my kids as Catholic because my wife and I believe it's important to raise them as such. some people view that as hypocritical. I'm not Catholic, but I'm raising my kids Catholic. You can criticize that all you want, but I see value in the church and the morals that they bring, and I'm not opposed to eventually becoming Catholic down the road when I feel the time is right for me. But I'm not going to do it just because I want to put on a front for my kids, right? I want to do it for the right reasons. So
Your wife is Catholic?
yes, indeed, yeah, lifetime.
What's keeping you from going the extra mile here?
I move at my own pace.
Okay.
I wasn't born and raised a religious person whatsoever. My mom was loosely affiliated with Methodist. My dad was not really anything. So I wasn't raised with it. I probably could count on the number, on one hand, the number of times I attended church as a youth. Just didn't grow up with it. The older I got, and really when I became a parent, it became more important to me to have those values reinforced at the youth level for my kids.
Do you think there's anything to the idea of giving your kids the toolbox as opposed to, this letter to the editor? I'm not trying to make this about me, but I will tell you some of the things that was written in the letter to the editor, a lot of the things that people talk about in Quincy. You got Catholics, non-Catholics in Quincy. You got Muslims. There's a Jewish contingency in Quincy as well. And I wrote something in there. I was describing the non-denominational churches as rock band churches. I described the Catholic Church as a loud pipe organ church. I don't know if I just used two pejoratives in a row or not.
Some people did not like those statements.
They don't like it.
Yeah,
they don't like it
did not like it.
because they don't like rock music. You know what I mean? Like they like Pantera. They don't. It's fine. I'm talking to I'm making jokes here. So there's this idea, Brian. Tell me what you think about this. I called these non-denoms. I called them rock band churches. I'm calling the Catholic Church a loud pipe organ church.
Yep.
Just because when I go to the Catholic Church for Mass, sometimes I hear a loud pipe organ. And sometimes when I go to the non-denoms, I hear
rock bands.
I heard rock bands. It's fine. They're using nice bass guitar and drums, and rock is my favorite genre.
Use whatever musical instruments you prefer.
Is loud pipe organ music your favorite genre of music?
No.
Okay.
No.
So why are you going? Why would you go to a Catholic Mass?
The family environment, I think, is important to reinforce with my kids. I think from a parish perspective, both within the parishes and the parish schools themselves, it's important. They reinforce the community and family feel. So I feel like it's important, to show up and be present there. I also think it's important to reinforce morals with children, and I think regardless of what denomination you are, I don't care if you're, Christian, Muslim, whatever. I think most organized religions do a good job of reinforcing morals and just values within a family environment. And I think it's important.
Another little aspect, and I'm not going to stay on the letter to the editor train too long, but I'm going to kind of just talk about some other things because I think I hit a nerve. I think, and you and I have talked about this. We've green roomed this.
Yeah.
For maybe a couple of hours. So what you and I are doing now is kind of fleshing this out in the pod because we feel like it's necessary, and there's a lot of things that you want to add, and you're going to get a ton of time to do this. One of the things that was said was I had written in the letter about the Catholic superiority complex, which is going deep into that. There's lots of facets to that. People who are not Catholic feel like some Catholics act in a superior fashion. I got called out on Facebook comments that was attached to my letter. My letter. Actually, that's a really good word to combine.
Combine them.
I'm combining it. Yeah.
Just coin that term.
Something like, Frank, you feel like you're superior. You feel like you're better than everybody. It's like, no, it's the complete opposite. I feel inadequate. I feel pretty vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I said things like, it's really hard being Catholic as opposed to what is, here was the clickbait headline that got so many people riled up was I felt like there's more strings attached when you're Catholic. It's a little bit harder. It's more of a challenge. I like the challenge. You are very competitive.
Yeah.
So you are
by nature. Yeah.
Well, so in our whole like soccer club, you are one of, I would put you in the upper echelon of people who are competitive. You have a competitive nature.
Yeah.
You're always nice about it.
Yeah.
But you're not screwing around. You're ready to rock. Even though you go to a loud pipe organ church.
I do.
So one of the things here is if you go to a non-denom, and this is for the people, the very great people at Madison Park,
Yeah.
the Crossing,
A lot of great churches out
all the different, the Methodist churches, Presbyterian, all the fundamentals, all those places, all those programs. My question to them is, when you go to church, is the tuition of your school tied to the attendance of when you go to church?
there. Yeah.
That would be a question I would ask them, because
question.
then you can get to the Catholic superiority effect. You can start to touch on it to where I'm having this issue, which, by the way, whoever is saying that the Catholics in Quincy have to go to Mass 51% of the time in order to achieve a certain tuition level,
Right.
I understand that. I'm okay with that. I pushed against it for a while. You and I talked about it.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. I get it. You know what? It's a challenge.
I understand the intention. I get it.
But all the people who go to these other churches, these non-denoms, for example, can you kind of understand where I'm coming from, where I'm saying strings attached? It's more of a challenge. It's
Yeah.
kind of harder.
Yeah.
You have to work a little bit harder sometimes. And I'm not saying Catholics are better. And I'm not saying if you want to be Barney bad boy, join the Catholic Church so you can be better than everybody. I don't think that.
Right.
I don't even think so. Here's something that's blasphemous. I would not sit here, because I'm afraid that Christ is watching. I would not say that my church is better than everybody else's, and everyone should come to my church,
Yep.
because the way that my church does it is perfectly correct.
Right.
I would not say that.
No. I think diversity is a good thing with religion, and choice is a good thing. I think that choice applies anywhere, right? I think choice is a good thing regardless of what you're talking about, whether it's church, schools, business, whatever. So yeah, I'm not here to judge anyone on their choice of religion, and I think diversity is a good thing in that aspect.
So here's the last part of this, and then we're going to get into the good stuff.
Good.
Is this, there are a lot of families in Quincy that are Christian, really good Christians. And so the Catholic Church, they really want those people. They really do. I think the higher-ups in the Catholic Church want those people to convert, because maybe those higher-ups are trying to save them, even though it's possible that Jesus is going to save them anyway.
Right.
It's possible.
Right.
I also don't know what Jesus is thinking.
No idea.
And a lot of those families have come to me and they have said this, and I want your take on this. Say, Frank, yeah, we're Christian. They'll ask me, how many times do you go to church? I go as much as I can. I don't go to St. Peter's. I go to other churches more than I go to St. Peter's sometimes. If I'm out of town, I'll go to church.
Okay.
I do a lot of, I'm praying in the car, I'm praying in the shower. In the green room, Rachel just threw me a text and told me that Valentino probably broke his arm. I 100%, when nobody was looking in my commercial space, I'm telling you, I made the sign of the cross, said a quick prayer, asked God. I was joking around. I'm like, I already sent all the angels.
Yep.
But I'm being serious.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
So I have a faith. I have the faith. I'm not doing all the things that I need to do, which is why I feel inadequate and which is why I feel vulnerable. And I think a lot of people feel like this with this new plan that is coming out.
Indeed.
So if anybody's listening and you've ever felt that the Catholic Church is not being inviting to you, now you can kind of understand where I'm coming from, where I think the Catholic Church is great. I'm not leaving it. I'm staying in, baby. Okay? And I'm probably, pardon?
And for the long haul.
Yeah. And I'm probably going to work harder.
Yeah.
And a lot of the fallen Catholics that have given up on it, I'm going to pray for them. I don't know if that sounds condescending. I'm going to pray for everybody. I'm going to work really hard. I'm going to get my ducks in a row. I'm probably going to go to Mass more. probably going to try harder. And this whole avenue of the Catholic schools kind of almost like segregating, getting kind of blown apart, and then put back together in a new way. That's how I look at this.
Yeah, agreed.
What is your perspective on keeping enrollment up in Quincy in the Catholic schools? Because what I'm saying is this: there are people with money that have no problem giving to the church, have no problem going to mass, have no problem sending their kids to school. So you got more enrollment, more bodies. I mean, come on, you need warm bodies. You got to shove them all in there, follow them in there like cattle, extract some level of wealth from them so you can pay the teachers.
Right.
So people who pay property taxes in Quincy, if somebody pays $10,000 in property taxes, but then they spend $10,000 on Catholic education.
Double dipping,
baby.
Double dipping. Yep.
They're paying twice.
Yep.
And I think on some level they're happy to do it, although some of them are not.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, look, I grew up in public education. I went to public education, not in this town, but in my hometown of Jacksonville. My mother was a public school teacher for 35 years. My oldest sister is in the public school system at District 117 back in Jacksonville. I think the need for public school is apparent, right? We need to have public schools there. Not everybody is going to go to private school. So, I don't have a problem paying taxes to go to a public school system that benefits the community. I don't have an issue. Some people do, and that's fine. I get it. We don't extract value when we send our kids to private school. We don't extract value out of the tax dollars that we're given directly. The community benefits, directly from it. So, for me, the choice of sending my kids to private school wasn't the fact that I didn't want my kids to go to public school. It was that I saw the value in sending them to our Catholic education system here in Quincy. We have a rich heritage. Over 150 years of Catholic education that's happened at the elementary level here in town. Like I said, my wife went through it at what was St. Mary's, right, which rolled into Blessed Sacrament years ago. But the value for me is the big seller. So within our school system, within a lot of them, within the 4 different school systems here, you have small class sizes, very good teacher-to-student ratio. My kids academically have excelled very well. My oldest he'll be 12 at the end of this month. My youngest going through right now is in kindergarten. And I have 2 in between. So I've got 4 kids right now in Blessed Sacrament, and they're all excelling academically and growing their faith life, right? So there's kind of a double-edged sword there, right? Academically, I think the schools are set up for my kids, for my family to excel better than maybe they would in the public school system. And also it kind of provides that faith journey for them, of which I didn't experience as a kid, and I want them to have that opportunity. So for me, the tuition, the value that I extract out of the school system, right, is worth the squeeze, right? It's worth the dollars. I would be inclined to say, a lot of parents would probably be okay with spending even more per child on tuition. I know the Catholic schools subsidize heavily, right, the tuition per child, and that's become a financial kind of burdensome over time as giving has slowed down at the church level. I think most parents would probably be okay with, taking up tuition costs a little bit if they can keep some of the benefits that are, associated with the current model that we have today, versus the new model proposed.
Do your kids ever bring homework, like Catholic-based homework home?
Yes.
Have you seen any of it recently?
Classes. Recently, I don't know about recently. I've seen some this year, if that's recent enough for you.
Yeah, that's recent enough.
Yeah, I've seen some this year.
Yeah, so sometimes my kids bring stuff home, and I read through it. I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
This is brilliant. It's such an interesting thing. This is what I talk about the toolbox.
Yeah.
The toolbox where in the Catholic classrooms, private school classrooms, Catholics are such an interesting group of people. They've kind of built many parts of Western civilization.
Education system.
They definitely built a huge chunk of Western education.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm not saying that others haven't worked as well, but I'm just saying the Catholics. I mean, if you want to go to a private school in Quincy from preschool through high school,
Into college.
K through 12, into college.
Into college.
I'm sorry, into college.
Yeah, into college.
All the way through to college.
You can spend your entire educational, and I believe, and I'm not a Quincy University expert, but I believe they have master's programs as well there, right? So you could even go beyond a bachelor's, get a master's, and you know.
A quarter century.
Yeah.
You can spend a quarter century of your life
Yeah.
studying inside the Catholic educational system.
Yep.
So it always surprises me. Like, my kids will bring home the math homework, and they'll bring home the spelling homework because they'll have a spelling test on Friday, and they've got the words every Friday, and my kids are
vocab a lot too.
Are your kids? Do they do the cursive over there at Blessed Sacrament or no?
Yeah.
They do cursive.
Yeah, I believe so.
Do they do cursive in the public school?
That's a good question. Cursive was a big part when I hated cursive. I had horrible handwriting, number one. So cursive was like, telling me to go draw a picture. I'm not good at that. So I hated cursive. But I don't know if public schools still. That's a good question. I don't know. I don't follow the curriculum because my kids aren't in it.
You know how Rogan has Jamie?
Yeah.
Pull that shit up, Jamie.
Yeah.
I wish I could do that with Bob.
Bob.
I wish I could be like, Bob does
Yeah,
can you pull that up? But Bob is like, I don't work for you.
He's doing his own stuff.
He's doing his own thing.
Yeah.
But we'll find out in the edit, right? We'll put it in the comments. But so what is the full take on this idea of the Catholic schools in Quincy? So for those listeners who know or don't know, of course, they want to take St. Anthony's, the St. Dominic's, St. Anthony's. They want to take Blessed Sacrament. Those two schools, they're on two opposite ends of town. They want to turn them into preschool, kindergarten.
Yep.
Correct?
Yep.
And then maybe insert some type of daycare option
This is what
in there.
I've heard, perhaps. Yeah.
And so the idea is St. Francis, who I believe St. Francis used to hold around 800 kids. This is what I've heard. If I'm wrong,
It's a huge building.
correct me in the comments.
Yeah.
If it was not 800, I heard it was way more than they have now.
Yeah.
Now they've got roughly 300 or under 300, something like that. And then St. Francis would be 1st through 4th.
Mm-hmm.
And then St. Peter's would kind of turn into like the Catholic junior high, as it were, 5th through 8th.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'm just going to tell you right now. I kind of know where you lean on it, but I'm going to let you describe it yourself. I kind of know where I lean on it. I lean right down the middle on it. Okay.
All right.
I am not for it. I am not against it. I am highly critical of the rollout. And here's why.
This is where we agree. Yes.
This is where we agree.
Yeah.
We agree on so many things, but this is one of the things that I have a problem with is the rollout. So there was something called the listening sessions back in April of 22. And the listening sessions where the leaders of the church, the board, whomever, was just kind of giving like a synopsis, kind of a very kind of generic informational about, so some things have to change.
Yep.
But they didn't get into super details about it. They just kind of gave some kind of options, but everybody kind of walked out of there thinking, okay, we kind of know what they're going to do. Or if it was still kind of ambiguous, the Catholics would talk to each other behind closed doors, and they would kind of gossip and call each other and text like, what do you think? What do you think? And then the general idea was the idea that they rolled out last week.
Yep.
That's the idea.
Yep.
That's what they came up with.
Yep.
2.5 years ago.
Two.
And then, so now this new unveiling, which I consider to be a thin veil, the worst kept secret in Quincy, is what I called it.
Yep.
It doesn't mean I'm against it. It just means it's like, oh my gosh, just say that you want to close down some of these churches and we don't have any money and we're screwed and society sucks. And here's what the pill got you. And here's where the fertility rate is.
Yeah.
And these two of these schools, people aren't, they're not cutting the mustard. We got to close them down, or we're in deep doo-doo.
Yeah.
I don't know if the Catholic Church came out and just said that. I think they kind of tiptoed around it.
Yeah,
I think they were scared to say, here are the churches that are rich, and here are the churches that aren't rich.
Yeah.
And here's what we got to do, and we should all have a good cry. Let's just cry about it. Which, by the way, I would have been okay crying about it. Like, I'm being dead serious.
I was not very happy. Yeah.
No, it's terrible.
Yeah, I was not
they
very
didn't say that though.
Yeah. No,
They just
didn't.
kind of just. Were you at the listening sessions?
Yeah, I was.
Did you give a speech? Did you ask any questions?
Yeah. So, truth be told, so I kind of knew what they were going to unveil far before when they were going to unveil it, and I wasn't a fan of it. But also out of respect for the board and the work that they put in, I didn't want to sabotage. Like you said, it was the worst kept secret in town. A lot of people already kind of knew what was coming. Some didn't. And those people got an absolute shock during those listening sessions because it was pretty blindsided. So I went to one of the 2 listening sessions, standing room only. Just ton of parents there.
Was it at Blessed Sacrament?
No.
Where was it?
No. Which one? Oh, you're talking about in 22.
Yeah.
No, I did not. I don't know.
I'm not talking about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. No.
Those were not the listening sessions.
Yeah, those were the review.
Those were
sessions.
that was the unveiling
Yeah.
of the new plan.
So I'm trying to think back because I think our church had one, but honestly, I don't know if I remember attending or not. To be flat honest with you,
well, it doesn't matter.
I don't remember what I had
You
for
were- but-
breakfast. So
Well, yeah, that's fair. But a couple weeks ago, you were at the Tuesday
I
meeting,
was.
and I was at the Tuesday meeting, and the following night, which was the Wednesday meeting, I did not go. I don't think you went to that one.
No, I heard
My father
heard it did not go well.
went.
Yeah.
He said it was very different from the Tuesday. So
Okay.
I feel like I'm talking in code for the people that don't care about this, and I'm uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable talking in the code here. So essentially, we've got quite a problem.
Mm-hmm.
This is what is causing the problem in the Catholic Church? What is the real problem? Supposedly, I mean, truthfully,
Financial.
it's money.
Yeah. Financial.
It's money.
Yep.
So the Vatican Bank has a lot of money,
Indeed.
but the Springfield Diocese doesn't, I guess. Or the Quincy faction of the Catholics don't have a lot of money.
Right.
But a lot of things have caused this. So you've got people are not.
Multiple factors involved, right?
What are some of the big ones?
Giving. I think they covered giving was down dramatically. I don't remember what percentage they shared, but that was because things like mass attendance and just overall giving is down. The Quincy's, the tuition for each student is heavily subsidized by the churches, which I think I mentioned earlier. So they rely on, giving to kind of shore up the gap between what people pay in tuition and what it actually costs a child to go through a year of Catholic education, which I understand. I think some of it is a little bit of an identity issue. They feel like in order to make the model sustainable, the Quincy Catholic model sustainable, they need to make a drastic change. I mean, they kind of look far and wide for schools that changed their model to match what they're proposing, instead of really kind of looking in their own backyard at potential solutions. This is just the way I feel. And they came up with a new proposed model of, as you covered, separating the schools. Instead of going K through 8, you have pre-K 1 through 4, 5 through 8. I think if you look at just Catholics as a whole and their desire to welcome children into the family and have large families, dividing the school from K through 8 into every couple of years your kid's going into a new school is problematic for large families, just logistical. But I'll just give you an example. I was in my kid's school just yesterday, actually. My oldest had a science fair presentation. He won an award, first place for his science fair project. So I walk in, they have like an open house during the day. Around lunch, I walk in, the kids are presenting their science projects to the parents that came, and just in my way in and out, I was able to see most of my kids just because they're going to or from lunch, right? And I kind of thought about that when I left that day, and I was like, man, like just the value of that, right? Like just being able to see most of your kids when you walk into a school. They're all there, right? They're all right there, K through 8th. They're going to be there until they hit Q&D, and then obviously off to Q&D. But I think the parish and community feel with K through 8, you establish your relationship with the teachers, with the administration in your school. You know them very well after your first kid rolls through there and they've spent a couple of years there. The teachers know every kid in the school. They know them by name. I mean, they just you spend 9 years, 10 years for some kids that go pre-K at 3. They just know all the kids and they get to see their growth over time, and it just kind of connects. You have all these parish events. You see the parents of the kids that are students in your kids' class. You get to know the parents very well. Blessed Sacrament's pretty small. I think most of my kids' classes have 20 or less kids in them. So it's the same group of parents. So there's just all these benefits that are present within a K through 8 model that the identity is lost. Now, am I here to say there's no pros to the proposed model? No, I'm not. I'm not that close-minded to say, well, there's probably there's some benefits there, right? As a parent, I feel like we're probably you and I and every other parent involved with Quincy Catholic education, we're the most important stakeholders in this whole equation, right? We've made the decision we're not going to send our kids to public school. We're going to send them to the Catholic schools. We're going to make sure that, we pay our tuition and support the church, right? In that sense, we're vested in our kids' education in a way in which, kind of goes above and beyond, right? So we're passionate about our kids' education. We want to be involved. And so when you take a certain grade set, say pre-K or 1 through 4 or 5 through 8, and you roll those kids together, right? And your kid is changing schools every couple of years, you lose kind of that parish community feel and identity that we have today. And I think you can't attach a value to that. You just can't. I mean, to watch your kid go through the same school, K through 8, all my kids are in the same place. My oldest, he doesn't do well in new environments, right? He struggles when things change. So the fact that, he knows that school in and out, K through 8, it's great. Right? There's no worry. There's no nervous feelings at all. He knows what to expect every year. So,
what do you think would happen if you've got a family? They're 3 or 4 generations deep at St. Peter's.
Yeah,
but they've got
families like that too.
Yeah. I think I'm at least the 3rd generation in my family at St. Peter's. But I'm using St. Peter's as an example. Let's say you got a family. St. Peter's, and so I've got 3 kids, but let's just say someone's got 2 kids, and they've got 1 kid going to Blessed Sacrament, and they got a kid go to St. Francis. Mm-hmm. Where do you think they should go to church?
It's a tough question. I mean,
so
I think you lose when you have your kids spread out across different schools. You lose the connection directly to the parish, and frankly, probably to the priest too, right? A little bit, because you got 1 kid that goes there, you got 1 kid that goes here. Where does your allegiance tie to, right? And the other thing that I think is important, and I think the decision makers have not, they're short-sighted in this aspect, in the sense that they're positioning the 4 schools as competing against each other. Right.
Currently
competing against each other.
What are they competing in?
Well, for numbers, right? For enrollment.
And what is happening? So now we're getting into the crux of it.
Deep stuff.
Now we're getting into it.
Yep.
They said, the leaders on the board, which by the way, half of those people, I know those people.
Yeah.
I believe all of those people are just fine. I don't have anything against them. Okay, I keep on hearing some negative things, and I'm going to ignore all that stuff, and I'm going to look at it from a very positive point of view and say nice things. They will say we need to get rid of the competition. What competition are they talking about?
Well, so what their view is, how they've spelled it out, is the different schools have different resources depending upon what school you're at, right? So you have, maybe more fine arts here, more, special education resources over here. You have STREAM or STEM over here and not over there, right? And on and on and on and on, right? And so their view is like everybody's paying the same amount of tuition regardless of what school you go. Shouldn't the resources match regardless of what school you go to? Valid point. My counterpoint to that is if you ask a lot of families within Quincy Catholic education, there are families at some point that they went to a Catholic school. It just wasn't a good fit for them. That particular school was not a good fit for them, right? Maybe it was their kid didn't get along with kids in the class. There was, some social things going on. Maybe it was administrative. Maybe it was teachers. Whatever it may be, right? But the way the system is laid out now, they have the ability to say, we're going to try another school, right? And Blessed Sacrament has gained a lot of kids from other schools, and we've lost some families too, right? We're not immune. But my point is, the way we're structured today, parents and families have choice. If one environment doesn't fit them well, they can adjust. They can go to another environment. They can go to another school, see how the fit is, right? And they can stay within the Quincy Catholic education system. It's not like this is the one school you have to choose from, and if it's not working for you and your child, there's no alternatives.
Well, with this current plan that they're putting out, that freedom is taken away.
Right. And I think, I'm a capitalist by nature, and I think we applying the same principles to choice in school is not a bad thing. I think talk to any parent that they've changed from one school to another for whatever reason it may be, and they're going to tell you that, we found a good fit. This one didn't work. We adjusted. We went here. Our kids stayed in the Quincy Catholic education system. And I think, if they want to talk about growth, if the board and QCES wants to talk about growth, they need to understand that, they would be losing those families essentially, right? Because if there's not an alternative, what are they going to do? Are they just going to gut it out, or are they going to get dissatisfied enough to leave the Catholic education system?
I've been really lucky. So I wrote in that letter how much I love our priest, and I just think he's a true priest. And whenever I hear him speak, it's so on point. He's so on point. Even when he says something that I disagree with, I actually think I think he's right, and I think I'm wrong. I've heard, this is where it gets kind of sticky. There's been people that have left certain. I'm going to be fair. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to call up the names of the churches. Sure. I'm going to be sneaky and be all like.
It really doesn't matter which one it is.
It matters. I'm not going to say the name of the church. It's not St. Peter's though, but somebody didn't like that. They didn't like that environment anymore.
Yeah.
Because listen, in our open discussion, I do not want to take away the strength of the Catholic Church. I don't want to hurt. I don't want to say a name. I will just tell you because it'll make me feel terrible, and I'll get a call from Father Leo, and he'll be like, "What are you doing?" And I don't want to disappoint him. He's the number one guy that I don't want to disappoint, to be honest with you, because I just respect him so much. But there have been people that are leaving. It's either St. Anthony's, St. Francis, or Blessed Sacrament. Mm-hmm. They will leave that school and come to St. Peter's, okay? Mm-hmm. And it's not because of the arts. It's not because like the basketball team is better. Right. It's for other reasons. It's for spiritual reasons, okay? And then, so this goes back to my point about the families in Quincy that have a lot of money and they're really good Christians and they want to come to the Catholic schools, but they're like, not if that's going to happen. I don't want to put my kid in there. I want to be able to choose. So the problem is when I talk to these families, do you know why I say they have money? Do you know why I say that? It's because they can contribute.
Right.
They can pay the full amount. Right. They may not be Catholic.
Right.
They can pay the full amount. Right. They can put money in the collection plate. They can pay for the candles and the electricity and the air conditioning and the teacher salaries. Yep. This is good. And the STEM lab. I want these people. I'm not going to say the names, but there's like 8 or 9 of them, like big names in Quincy that would have no problem coming over, but they feel this stigma. They feel this weight. And when I've talked to other people about it, they're like, well, what are they worried about? I mean, just do it. Just come over and pay it. Well, nothing's perfect. It's like, well, they all think the same thing, and I agree with them. And so there's a really good Catholic in town. And he explained to me yesterday, he's like, look, Murphy, I went to school with him. Went to St. Peter's and Q&D.
Why the last name came into play?
Yeah. So he's a very smart man. He's very Catholic. I think he's got 5 kids. Anyway, and he's super duper Catholic. Yeah. So he thinks if you don't go to Mass, it's a mortal sin.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't think that. I'm going to go more biblical and less 4th century Pope. Yep. Shots fired.
Right.
Shots fired.
Hey,
This is why.
Not judging.
Please, I don't want to get excommunicated by the.
It's not my decision.
Well, I don't want the bishop to hear this and excommunicate me because I like him a lot. Although I think he should travel here for Holy Eucharist and for First Communion. Yeah, he was.
He was here yesterday.
Yeah, he was.
He was here yesterday.
Anyway, he's a good dude. Anyway, I just don't want to get into trouble. I just said the wrong thing.
Yeah.
But my friend said, listen, Frank, the Catholic Church, you're just going to have to accept this. It's going to get smaller. And society is circling the drain. And you want the Catholic Church to bend to society. And you want an easier path. And guess what, buddy? You're not going to get it. So just quit being a sissy.
Yeah.
Go to Mass. Pay your dues. Praise God. Do the right thing. And suck it up. Which, by the way, this really good Catholic man, there's been other really good Catholics that have said the same thing to me. So maybe I should listen to them. So I understand this, and all the good Catholics that have given me their advice, it's sound, it's really good. But I will just tell you this. The scenario I just talked about, these good Catholics telling me that I should watch what I say, they are saying that they want the enrollment to go up.
Correct.
They're saying they want the Mass attendance to go up.
Correct, yes.
I'm saying they're talking out of both sides of their mouth. Because here's why. If you don't attract these families, and you don't get as many in as you can, and go easy on certain things, like don't tell them they're not going to go to heaven. I mean, come on. Listen, you don't know that. You can't. Only Jesus knows that.
Right.
And only the Creator knows that. Which is the same person, if I want to confuse everybody. And the Holy Spirit, it's 3 in 1. Come on. It's easy to understand. But this idea of like, you have to let go of some of the ego, but also work really hard and not bend to the will of society as it's circling the drain.
Right.
Which is what happens.
Yeah, I would agree.
So
current climate, definitely.
Yeah. So this new plan of kind of blowing apart the 4 schools and then putting them back together in this format, I do understand it. It does make sense. It's just the rollout has not been very good, and obviously you're going to get a lot of pity parties like the ones I've kind of been throwing.
Well, I think it's important for leadership to understand they're going to lose families, and whether they've factored that in, based on their model. I think that you can agree or disagree with the model. I have my own thoughts on that.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
By losing the families, does that shoot the enrollment up?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, guess what? Your change, if you're saying that there's going to be attrition, which I believe that too, I think you'll lose families. Now, you're not going to lose me.
I've literally heard parents say, like, if this is the way they're going, like, we will not be returning to Quincy Catholic schools. We will homeschool our kid. We'll send him to Ole Miss Academy. We'll go over to Holy Family and Hannibal.
How happy is Ole Miss right now?
Probably they're going to gain some numbers.
They're like, look, man, the Catholic Church is on fire.
Yeah.
Look, everyone's running out the door.
They're probably going to gain some families if this transpires. And I mean, the people I've talked to are genuinely saying this. It's not I'm mad and I'm just going to bark threats. It's, if this goes through, I'm not staying within the system. Is
it true that during one of those meetings, somebody asked the question, can you give me an example of the cost savings?
Yeah.
So I heard, I don't want to get my wires crossed. On Tuesday, that question was not allowed.
Correct.
They had an attorney and a bulldog kind of standing there with like fangs out, like telling people they can't ask financial questions. But then the next day,
it wasn't just financial. There were other questions that were unpolitely denied, which I thought was a poor choice.
You witnessed this, did you not?
Yeah. I mean,
You saw it.
It was right in front of me.
Okay, I saw it too.
I couldn't believe it, honestly. I had a list of questions and some simple ones like, will you share some survey data? They were going to send a post survey out, right? Asking parents, about the plan, or that was the perception. They were going to ask parents. That actually didn't ask parents what they thought of the plan, but and it, they just wanted to ask the question: is this going to be shared with public? And you can't ask that question. We're not going to share it, but you can't ask that question. It was just kind of a tense situation. I actually.
You almost came out of your skin.
Yeah, I was not very happy.
So
not very happy.
The question, and I don't know if this happened on the Tuesday night or the Wednesday night, but the question was, can you please give me some kind of example of where the cost savings is going to come in? And I did not hear the answer, but I heard from somebody else what they said the answer was. Did you hear what this answer was?
I've heard mixed responses.
Have you heard this one?
What have you heard?
One answer I heard was, well, the cost savings will come from when about 20% of the staff get so fired up from
they quit.
They just quit,
Yeah,
and then
quit.
we won't rehire for those positions.
Yeah.
Wait, did you hear that?
Yeah.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. The unemployment just goes up in Quincy, right?
So-
That's what unemployment insurance is for. This is a problem solved.
Yeah, it's certainly an interesting strategy involved in controlling costs or getting costs lower. I mean, the writing's on the wall.
I thought
right?
they were just going to buy less candles.
They're gonna combine schools. They're gonna make class sizes bigger than what a lot of schools have.
They're going to
today.
shut a church or two down.
That's the writing on the wall, and they can tell me no, I'm wrong, but I've yet to hear anybody rebuttal that statement either. So, I mean, I think if you just look at the size of Blessed Sacrament and St. Dominic's, right? Like I know Blessed Sacrament has 14 or 15 classrooms in it. You're not going to fill that building of pre-K, just that building alone. And now you're talking about 2 buildings being filled with pre-K. So I don't know what their motive here is by having 2 pre-K buildings. Like you said, maybe there's some daycare capacity that they're exploring. Okay. Maybe it's, we're going to have these 2 buildings be pre-K, and then eventually we're going to figure out that, there's not enough numbers to warrant having 2 pre-K buildings open, so we're going to shutter the doors on one of them, right, to eliminate some operating costs. I don't know what the answer is.
Well, so daycare is pretty sought after in Quincy, and people have a hard time finding daycare. It's very expensive. There are people, there are stay-at-home moms that will just find a part-time job somewhere to get some freedom, to get some time away from their kid, and all the money they make goes to the daycare provider, and that mother will say,
to break even.
It's worth it.
Yep.
It's worth it. Like because when I come back, I spend all the money, I make all the money, I spend it, and then my kid's happy to see me, as opposed to we're fighting each other all day long over which flat screen they can and they can't use.
Yeah.
So I do see. By the way, I do think. Can I say some positive things? Because have I been overly negative about this?
No, I don't. I mean, I
don't know.
Look, here's my perspective on this. Right, we're discussing things that are occurring within the Catholic school system that are important for the future of the Catholic school system. It's I think if you want to be critical of anything, right, be critical of your child's education and the future of their education. This is a big deal. Like, this is a big deal.
Well, we went through the vaccination stuff. We went through the mask stuff.
Have you got your Fauci ouchie?
No.
Your latest.
No.
I hope you wear your mask out in public, Frankie. I'm just kidding.
If people are still wearing masks, you know how they vote.
I like the double mask in the car. That's my favorite.
Yeah, that's very rare now. Those are unicorns.
Unicorns, yeah.
Those people wore 4 masks I mean, they almost passed out when they were driving during COVID, but now they can kind of breathe because they've gone down to
I
one.
was gonna say, I don't
So,
know. Oxygen to the brain.
so the idea of moving towards this, I want to say something positive. Okay, I want to say something positive.
Okay.
The Catholics are trying to hold it together. Okay, they're not trying to waste everybody's time. They're not trying to hurt us. They're not trying to screw up our kids.
No,
Okay?
I don't think
They're not.
anyone has malintention here.
No. And listen, if you're the bishop, he has a huge job to do to keep the church together. He has to go through. He has to listen. I mean, he has to obey the Pope. Mm-hmm. He has to do what he thinks is right. You've got all of these priests. I don't understand the system because I'm not in the system, and I kind of know from a cursory kind of examination about how it works, but I would not claim to know how it works. And I'm not a priest.
Yeah.
And I think being a priest is very difficult.
Yeah.
And I think evil is very attracted to the priesthood in so far as, for example, I literally think it's so difficult to be a priest in that you get hit from every direction. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
I mean, just every moment you're being tempted by stupid things.
Yeah.
Like by the most like mundane things, like the vow of poverty. Like if you have a choice between getting a Mercedes and a Ford Escort, you're probably going to choose the Ford Escort because that's the vow. Because you're just trying to downplay it. You're just trying to like stay out of the material and stay inside the spiritual realm. Yeah. That is difficult. So I've got mad respect for all the priests around here. Everybody, from the two Father Toms, Father Arisman, Father Leo, Father Paul, all the deacons, all the people working the magic. They're doing an incredible job. Can you imagine? Can you imagine how hard that would be?
I mean, I wouldn't.
To be a priest.
Yeah, no.
It's super, super difficult. And you can't do the things that you were biologically wired to do. It's unfair.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, if it ever goes up for a vote, if we ever have Vatican III, and they go, should priests be able to marry? I'm just going to be like, okay, all right.
Yes.
Give it to them.
Yeah.
Just give it to them. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that a bad Catholic thing to say?
No, I don't think so.
All right. But as we kind of wrap a few things up, I do think that it's relatively brilliant. Listen, the Catholics, as they built Western civilization, they're trying to maintain it.
Yeah.
They're trying to keep it.
It's not easy.
They built it. Now they're trying to keep it. So I give them a lot of respect, a lot of props for doing that. The idea that you can put daycare centers on either end of the city to attract people that need a place to send their kids. Maybe there's a holding tank for daycare. Maybe they matriculate into preschool. Yeah. Maybe preschool becomes the daycare.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a way to get more Q&D grads. I'm serious. So I think,
I mean, that's our ultimate goal. I talked to Mark McDowell for half an hour.
Stud.
Yeah. Great guy.
Awesome.
He actually talked me off the ledge a little bit at the session because I was pretty hot.
I saw that.
Yeah. And so, Mark's just trying to increase enrollment too. I mean, Q&D's down, right? They were once, 500, 600 kids. Now they're under 400, I think.
Yeah. I had 500. There were 500 kids when I went to Q&D.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say how long ago it was, but it rhymes with.
So, yeah, I mean, enrollment's down across the board, right? It's a problem. Financially, there's some problems, right? I understand that. I think for me, the important piece of it here, just as a parent, speaking as a parent, is transparency on where this is going throughout the entire process, right? I may not agree with the model, right? There may be a collective of parents that don't agree with the model. I think most parents are more upset about the lack of transparency and communication that has occurred through this process. And from a leadership level, whether you're talking about the board, whether you're talking about QCES, regardless, I think it's important as a parent to stay on top of this if you want to stay in the know, right? Talk to Chris Gill at QCES. Talk to the people from your parish that were elected to, or chosen, I should say, to the provisional board that are making decisions. Talk to your priest. Your priest is probably the most important person to talk to about this because, they're the priest, right? So I think as parents, a lot of us weren't greatly happy or thrilled with how this has been communicated or lack of transparency through the whole process. they're talking about implementation of this next year, right? So we've got a starting line. They shared this a couple weeks ago with the listening sessions. Now it's up to the parents to make sure your voice is heard, right? And if you disagree, state why you disagree with the plan, right? And just, demand accountability. I think that's an important part. We're all in it for our kids' education. I think we're all trying to get to the same place, right? A better education for our kids. We may not agree in how we get there and the plan to get there, but right now the approach is very top down, right? And just from a parent's perspective, it needs to include some more bottom up input.
I agree. I do love the Catholic Church. I think it gave me it gave me the toolbox I needed. I think sports gave me another set of tools. I think I had good parents. The academic portion of it is extremely important. It gave me a whole other set where I know that a lot of people, it's not going to work for them if like special needs, things like that.
Sure.
People who they just really, really, really don't like the 10 Commandments. So it's like,
Probably not going to work for you.
If you don't like the 10 Commandments, you're going to want to stay away from private education, because the private education is all about don't lie, don't steal, don't cheat, don't kill.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Don't kill.
Yeah, don't kill.
Do you know what you got to do? You know what you got to tell a kid early, like wired in?
Yeah.
You have to tell them not to kill. Have to. You can't just like leave it up. Well, hold on. You can't just say, well, it's kind of up to you. It's your body. If you go like this and somebody gets in the way, it's your body.
Yeah.
You have free will, it's your body, your choice. No, it's like you have to take the non-aggression principle. It's called the NAP.
Yeah.
It's us libertarians live by the NAP, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I think my kids might encroach on that, that commandment killing thing with each other in the house, Royal Rumble between them, But when you got 5 and they're all pretty close in age, that tends to be the result.
You got 5?
5, yeah.
God bless your wife.
Basketball team.
God bless your wife.
Basketball team, starting 5.
You did a lot of work. Your wife just did more work.
Way more work.
You did some.
Way more work.
You did some. She just did more.
A little bit.
Yeah. Brian Richards. So you work, in closing, thank you for coming here. Yep. I know you, 3M, I know I took you away from all of your work, all your marketing. I don't know what you're going to do after this. Are you going to go right back to work?
Right. Well, actually, no. I got to go coach soccer shortly. So.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah. Got to go coach soccer. Yeah.
Well, all 3 of my kids have soccer, but I think Valentino broke his arm, so maybe I'll.
That's one less activity, right?
I mean, that's a silver lining. Less activities.
They heal quick. My daughters had broken arms twice and major surgery. They heal. They'll be fine.
It'll be okay.
They'll be fine.
He'll only miss the last part of soccer and the entire first part of wrestling, but it'll be okay.
He can hit kids with a cast when they move.
Brian Richards.
Thanks, Frankie.
Thanks, buddy. See ya.